What is up, guys? I am here on a very late night on a DVD Tuesday. As you guys all know by now, the new Edge DVD came out. Go get this at Best Buy, $15.99 at Best Buy. That's a steal. That's one more dollar than you can get for a regular pay-per-view DVD. So that's definitely a steal. Before I get a DVD review, bending the rules. This was Edge's movie that came out last week. I actually had the chance to watch this on Friday on the way home from my vacation. And I gotta say, overall, this is actually a pretty good movie. Nothing spectacular, nothing great. But for Edge's first movie, it was pretty good. I mean, if you're going on vacation and you're driving somewhere and need some time to kill, this is actually not that bad of a movie to watch. So, I'd recommend checking it out. Alright, now on the DVD. Alright, on the cover here, you have a pretty damn good cover on here. You got Edge doing his signature pose, and you got, the crowd in the background. You got a sign right there. You think you know me, the story of Edge. 3 just said, WWE home video. Side, you got a picture of Edge with the WWE title. I wish they would have put the spinner title, or the rated R spinner title on there instead of the normal one, but whatever, it's a good picture of Edge. You think you know me, the story of Edge, 3 just said. Back here, you got a bunch of pictures. Wrestlemania 24, him and Christian, getting ready for the spear, and him with the WWE title. Read you guys back here. Says, you think you know him? You know him as the infamous and ruthless radar superstar, the ultimate opportunist, Edge. And you think you know me, the story of Edge. Uncover the struggles, triumphs, and behind his rise to glory, friends, rivalries, and the man himself reflect on his life. From his days as the kid who dreamed of overcoming the odds to pursue a career in sports entertainment, to his explosive presence in WWE, from his revolutionary tag team with Christian to his extraordinary run as 7-time World Heavyweight Champion and 4-time WWE Champion, and finally to his shocking retirement after WrestleMania 27, packed with thrilling matches from his entire career, including a never before seen 1995 match from his Edge's pre-WWE career featuring his alter ego Adam Impact vs. Christian Cage. Bouts from his WWE and World Heavyweight Championships, including a table, ladders, and chairs match for the WWE Championship versus John Cena, his unforgettable tag team matches against the Hardy Boyz, his WrestleMania 24 World Heavyweight Championship match against The Undertaker, and his final match of his career against Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania 27. Edge's hand-selected favorite matches, including battles with Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero, and tag team action with Christian and more. And special features are the Ninja Star, PTA, working in WCW, whatever. I can't really pronounce that. Credulity, someone will probably correct me in the comments. Real Emotion from Raw, August 8th, 2005. Opened up. Great artwork right here. You got Edge with the world title. Says, you think you know me. You got a great picture of Edge with WrestleMania 24 in the background. Says the story of Edge. Open up. Phenomenal artwork. See, you got disc 1. Disc 2 and Disc 3, and you have the insert. I don't know why the print's so small for, but whatever, I guess. Disc 1 documentary. I'm not going to list the matches from Disc 2 and 3 because they're in the description box, so I'll just read the listing from Disc 1 and just basically talk about the documentary. Disc 1 includes It's All Over, a childhood obsession, the winning essay, Paying to Wrestle, Worth the Struggles, Nothing Happens Overnight, the Mysterious One, Best Friends United, Variety Package, Springboard into Singles Action, Teaming with his Idol, a Grounding Halt, Lifestyle Change, A Fire Inside Explodes, Shocking Drama Explosion, Shocking the World, An Even Bigger Chip on His Shoulder, Off and Running, Enjoying Time Off, Seizing Each Moment, Uncle Adam, My Favorite Moment, Energizing and Energizing, I don't know what the hell that word is. The Master Manipulator, Something Didn't Feel Right, A Champion Retires, Next Challenge, Appreciation Night, Days Gone By. And special features, like I said, were listed on the back of the DVD. Now, the documentary. It was great. It was an hour and 50 minutes long, and it basically went over about everything, During the documentary, you had Edge on a radio show from before the appreciation night on SmackDown for him, and just him going over his career, and it talked about it. Beginning had him on the radio show, then it showed went to the documentary, talked about his childhood and everything, and then you go back to the radio show eventually, and it was just I really like the way they set this up. Like I said, it started out with him on the radio show, talked about his childhood, And it talked about how his uncle died, who at 17 years old when he was like 8 or 10, around there. I'm not sure. I don't remember. And his mom put wrestling on for him to get him to calm down, take his mind off of things. And ever since then, he became obsessed with wrestling. And it talked about when he was a kid meeting Christian at school. I think it was 6th grade. And, he was like the only other kid besides him who was obsessed with wrestling. And they got along great. And he talked about how he did anything he could to get to Wrestlemania 6. His mom knew how much he loved it, and she did everything in his power, or her power, not his power, to get him to go to Wrestlemania 6, and he had some good-ass seats. And, he talked about the wrestling school contest, or essay contest, that he entered. Him and Christian were supposed to enter it, but Christian backed out at the last minute, and he entered it and won it, and got free training at the wrestling school with his trainers. I forgot their names, but yeah, free training, which is really, really cool to get that, because you got to pay to get training. And he talks about how he went to college, and when he went to college, he went to radio broadcasting class to, if wrestling didn't go out for him, he had something to fall back on. And he actually met someone who was a diehard wrestling fan, which is pretty damn cool. And, he got friends with him. And, he talked about how he met Rhyno at one of his wrestling shows, and he actually came up with the name Rhyno. He's like, he looked at him and said, "You're a Rhino," and ever since then he started using the name Rhyno. And he talks about how a week after he ended college, that's when WWE called him to have a match. I guess basically a job to someone. But yeah, he got called by WWE, and they were impressed by him. Bret Hart ended up calling him and saying how he hooked a meeting up with JR and them, and he got sent to Stanford, and he actually had a match against Michael P.S. Hayes, and Michael P.S. Hayes basically said, "Hey, this guy's got everything we want," and they eventually signed Edge. And Edge talked about him being his freak gimmick. When he was Adam Copeland, he didn't know what he was going to do when he came to WWE. He didn't know what kind of gimmick to have. He didn't know what to do. And he started becoming this whole freak thing, his old vignettes of him being freaky and everything, which led into the new Brood with Christian and Gangrel. And, he basically said that him and Christian, everyone thought just him and Christian there to be there, and the whole group was about Gangrel, but it was not. And then, when Edge started getting on the mic, everyone started listening, and everyone started liking him, and he started getting over pretty quickly. And, they started talking about Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys, how they were two tag teams and no one knew about them, and they really want to make a name for themselves, and they basically did everything they could to, basically say, we're here and we want to be noticed, and that's what they did. And that led into talking about their the TLC matches, how every TLC match they had with Hardys and Dudleys kept getting bigger and better, each time they had a match, and it just kept elevating their career, which was awesome. Then it goes on to basically talk about Edge and Christian, how funny they were when they became tag team champions. They just were extremely funny, and everyone was falling in love with these guys. They were just the funniest guys to be around at that time, And they talk about the 5-second pose, so they came up with that when they became tag team champions, they didn't want to be touched by people when they walked down the aisles. Like, their old entrance, they walked through the crowd. They didn't want people touching them, so they came out and did the 5-second pose instead, to basically say, you know what, you guys can still do something, but just can't touch this. And then they talk about how Edge went to his singles career, and how him winning King of the Ring in 2001 really elevated his career to becoming a mega star and, singles lead, which eventually led up to talking about his feud with Kurt Angle. He said that his feud with Kurt Angle really elevated him to the way he felt. I mean, he felt like he wasn't putting on good matches, but when he fought Kurt Angle, he said, you know what, I'm good. He started thinking highly of himself, and every wrestler should do that. But then he talked about teaming with Hulk Hogan when they asked him if he wanted to team with Hogan. He's like, yeah, immediately, because Hogan was his, idol when he was a kid, and teaming with him was just like amazing to him, and he couldn't wait to do it. And winning the tag team title with him was like amazing to him, and he couldn't believe it. It was so surreal to him, and that led to the feud with Eddie. It's him talking about Eddie and the match he had with Eddie that actually caused his neck injury when Eddie hit a suplex on the ladder that injured Edge's neck. And, of course, after that, Edge had to go to neck surgery, which put him out for a year. And Edge said he hated that he got put out of action for so long. And, when he returned from his neck injury, become Intercontinental Champion, and he was doing great. And he said when he returned to Toronto for SummerSlam 2004, he was expecting to get a pretty good ovation, but when he went there and they booed him, he basically said, "No, and I'll give you something to boo about." And that's when that led to his heel turn. And he was talking about his heel turn, how he when he was a heel, almost everything he was doing is basically how he felt, like in his position. And he started talking about when he won Money in the Bank. At first, he didn't want to be in the Money in the Bank because he didn't get the concept of it. And eventually, then he's like, "Oh, I know what it is now." He finally understand what it was, and he got it and won the Money in the Bank. And then that led to talking about his relationship with Lita and his feud with Matt Hardy. And sorry about that. And talking about how it was a mistake that they hooked up, and everyone's human and everyone has mistakes, and just learn from it. And everything he was saying on like Bite This and everything, he really meant it, and he felt like it was no one's business besides the three of them, and how all the fans thought they knew what was going on when they didn't was really pissing him off. And he just, that really like built him more as a heel, he said, which was good. And he talked about his Money in the Bank cash-in on Cena, how if he were retired the day after he won the title, he would be happy because he's done everything he wanted to do. And he talked about the live sex celebration where he was told it was going to happen the day before, and he thought it was a joke. He laughed, like, "Yeah, that's funny." And when he actually found out it was real, he was like, "What?" He was kind of like, "Okay." And then he talked about being mad that he was a transitional champion. He said that his reign could have gotten longer. He said he should have went till at least WrestleMania to be champion. But he was pissed off by that. But he didn't really let that destroy his career. He let that more desirable career, because he said his match at Foley at WrestleMania 22 solidified his career as a main eventer. When he took that the tag spot, Foley was supposed to take that, but he said, "No, I'm going to take it instead." Took that spot, and he said that really elevated his career. Then he talked about his feud with Cena, and talked about how their feud was basically the modern day Rock and Austin feud. He said that when Cena threw him into the river, that was recreating when Austin threw Rock's title in the river. And he was really cool. He said that him slapping his father was great. Their TLC match was amazing. All their matches were just great, and he was really praising the crap out of that feud. It talks about his Money in the Bank win from Kennedy and his cash-in on The Undertaker. He talked about his feud with Batista, and Batista was there. He was saying how he thought him and Edge had great chemistry and everything. They just talked about his feud. And Edge said that Batista's moveset was like really vicious, that actually took his neck injury back. Well, it didn't take it back, but it started to happen again because of Batista Bomb, spear, and spinebuster and everything. Really started to, hurt his neck again. And that led to Edge talking about the Edge heads, Hawkins and Ryder. How Hawkins was actually the one who came up with the Edge head idea, and Edge said he loved it. And, basically took off from there. Talked about his relationship with Vicky, how he said that he thought everything he did with Vicky was just great. Everyone loved it, thought it was great TV, and it was really good. It was a really good storyline he did. And that led to talking about his feud with The Undertaker and main eventing at WrestleMania 24. And, he said every time him and The Undertaker had a match, it was great. He said that his match with Taker at 24 was amazing, and I can't help but agree, that was a great match. And basically everything they did, from having the Hell in a Cell, the TLC, and he said they had like 5 pay-per-view matches that year, and they were all great matches, can't argue with that. And he talked about how he rented a cabin to take time off after his Hell in a Cell match with Taker at SummerSlam, and he said that he really needed that because he was getting tired. And they go on to talk about him coming back as the ultimate opportunist, because every time he got opportunity, he capitalized on it by winning the WWE title Survivor Series, then at the Royal Rumble, then the world title at No Way Out. They basically just said that he was the ultimate opportunist, and it really skipped they didn't talk about his Achilles tendon injury, which I thought was weird. And they skipped that all the way to his final days leading up to WrestleMania 27, which I thought was odd that they skipped 2 whole years, talking about being 2009 and 2010. And they talked about how Brodus Clay hitting Edge with a steel chair was what really injured Edge, because he started losing feelings in his hands, and that just really hurt him even more. And they talked about at 27, Edge was worried that he was going to get injured during the match, and he was just really worried about hurting himself even more. And he said after the match against Del Rio, he felt great. He didn't feel injured at all, but WWE made him get an MRI after Mania 27, and the MRI came out bad apparently, and they made him retire. They said, you can't go on, we're not going to let you go on anymore, and you're done, and he had to retire. And he talked about how Austin actually called him and said, what, the same thing happened to me. Austin knew what Edge was going through, and tried to talk him through. And then they talked about Edge. John Laurinaitis called Edge 2 days after he retired to be on the show Haven, and Edge said he did it, and he was very happy. He said he loved doing that. And then he talked about filming Bending the Rules, which I just talked about not a few minutes ago, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago actually, about filming the movie. And then he talked about the Edge Appreciation Night on SmackDown, which he said that it was really emotional for him because all his family and friends came out before the show started, and he just really was emotional. And then it had a nice video package to cap off the documentary, which was freaking awesome. So overall, this is a great documentary. Really enjoyed it. It had a lot of people in this documentary. It had JR, The Miz, Michael P.S. Hayes, who else? I think Vince McMahon was in there, right? I don't know. John Cena, Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, Batista, Rhyno. It had a lot of people. Mick Foley. It just had a lot of people in this documentary, and it was really enjoyable. So I definitely recommend you guys checking this out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'm out, guys. Thank you for watching.